In this video, let's take a look at averaging GNSS observations on import. So this is a project we were out on back in March, and we picked up the lot corners for some preliminary information. We needed to locate this house, a proposed build site, and now they want to come in and take a look at some sight lines because they're building on the lot to the south here. There's lot 12. And we want to go back out and take some additional shots. And we want to hit those corners again and observe those corners again and use GNSS averaging to make sure we've got the most accurate location we can for those so we can start doing some more control work out here. So we've already imported the GNSS information, and Traverse PC knows it's an RTK traverse. So here's all the information from back in March. And these are RTK points. We used a G761 as a way to label the GNSS point for point 761 that was in the survey already. And we used these two points, G761 and 761, along with these other pairs to calibrate that survey to the GNSS that we're doing. And then, of course, here's our RTK information, our RMS values, PDOT values, that sort of thing. So this is already in here. Each one of these GNSS points now has one observation with however many observations were in the sample size, but there's one point with one GNSS observation. By measuring these corners again, we're now going to have two observations for each point. And we're going to just show that real quickly here. So let's go ahead and tell Traverse PC we want to import. And we need to do one thing in the settings. We need to say that when an imported point matches an existing point, because that's what we're going to do. We're going to import points that are the same points. We want to use the existing survey point and don't update it. We want to keep that one the way it is until we decide to average those. And then one last thing is that we're going to tell Traverse PC that we identify matching points by the point label. So I'm going to continue using G761 each time I record point 761 with GNSS. So let's say OK. Let's pull up our file. Here's the one we brought up in March. Here's the one we did again in October. Let's import that. And a couple of things happen right away. One is the message view shows me that for each one of those points, yeah, I found an existing survey point because the labels match. And I'm going to keep that. But here's the observation information that I picked up that day. And Traverse PC is going to take this G763B and simply make another observation. Then it's going to show us all the averages that it found for the points that we imported. So we imported 5 points, and each one of those points already had an observation in the survey. So it lists now however many observations each point has. So point G761, the one we looked at earlier, now has 2 observations, one from back in March, one from in October. And I can list all the observations, and this will. It'll list all the observations G761 has. It might have 4 observations. They would all be listed here. And I simply can say, okay, are there any outliers in here that I want to pay particular attention to? And Traverse PC makes that real easy. I can say, here are the limits I want for RMS values, horizontal and vertical, for PDOT, for differences. I've set this one a little low for a different video. I'm going to put this back up at 5 here. And I'm going to select outliers. Okay, I've got one outlier, it's selected. And I take a look at it and it says, oh, okay, so I've got something in here it thinks is just a little high. Let's see what that is. Oh, okay, difference in X, 0.5. Look at the difference here, 0.57. So I'm a little far out, but I'm going to accept that. I'm going to say, nope, that's not a problem. So I don't see any other values in here that I want to reject. If I wanted to, I could simply uncheck it, and Traverse PC would not use that observation in the computation of G761. Anything that's checked will be used. And then in addition to the other options down here, I want this one, update survey points with computed averages. So it just updated those points. Now G761 ends in 0.372, 0.026. When I close this out now, come back, here's my G761, It ends in 0.372 and 0.026. And I created a new traverse for those same points that I just imported. Let's open that up. Let's take a look at that G761 here also. Here's G761. Here's the 372.026. And I'm just going to show you real quickly here that each one of these points has its own observation and would compute a different set of coordinates. See the 0.429 and 0.017? This raw GNS observation would have computed those coordinates. But these coordinates aren't stored for that point. They're only available through this observation if I want to check it. And if I turn display raw data back off, this is simply one more observation to point G761 that currently has this northing and this easting for its value, which was computed from a GNSS average.